Right now, as you're watching this, the Middle East and indeed the entire world is being completely and irreversibly remade. The Islamic Republic of Iran, the terror regime that haunted the world for 47 years, just lost its supreme leader, its top military commanders, its navy, its air force, its air defenses, and its ability to project power across the entire region. And if that weren't enough, Hezbollah, Iran's crown jewel proxy army in Lebanon, has just effectively been wiped out after making the single dumbest decision in their entire history. History is indeed being made right before our very eyes. This is absolutely unprecedented, and I'm about to show you exactly what's happening. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis that you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and also make sure to sign up for my free uncensored Patriot Alerts newsletter. Sign up right now by clicking the Patriot Alerts link in the description below. On Saturday, February 28th, the United States and Israel launched the most devastating joint military operation in decades against the Islamic Republic of Iran. In the opening hours of the attack, U.S. B-2 stealth bombers and Israeli Air Force fighter jets dropped over 2,000 bombs across hundreds of Iranian military and regime targets. They hit Revolutionary Guard command centers, air defense systems, missile launch sites, military airfields, naval installations. The entire governing infrastructure, the Iranian regime, was essentially wiped out in a matter of just 24 hours. And that elimination, of course, centered on Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the man who has ruled Iran with an iron fist since 1989. He was killed in an Israeli airstrike on his Tehran compound. The man who has chanted death to America and death to Israel for nearly 4 decades, who funded every major terror proxy in the Middle East, who is racing toward a nuclear weapon, is gone. And he did not go alone. U.S. officials confirmed that more than 40 senior leaders of the Iranian regime were killed in just the opening airstrikes, which, by the way, hit over 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours alone. Israel confirmed they eliminated the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran's defense minister, the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, a key aide Khamenei, and numerous other military and political leaders. The regime's command and control has been effectively decapitated. Khamenei's son, his heir, Mojtaba, has also been killed, as has the immediate successor to Khamenei. He was the supreme leader for literally just hours before he too was annihilated. The ruling hierarchy of the Iranian regime has effectively been wiped out. And now they've got a full-blown succession crisis with competing factions scrambling for power. So now they're fighting themselves every bit as much as the United States and Israel. And as it turns out, Saudi Arabia. We're now getting word that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is preparing to join the fight and bring down the regime once and for all. It's been widely reported that while Saudi Arabia publicly called on the United States to avoid a military confrontation with Iran, behind the scenes these last several weeks, privately, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was all for this. He's been one of the biggest cheerleaders in the region for this regime change operation. And now that Iranian drones just hit Saudi Arabia's massive Ras Tanura oil refinery, one of the largest in the world, it does indeed look as if the Saudis are going to join the fight, which is absolutely stunning. Again, could you have imagined a scenario, any possible scenario, where Saudi Arabia would be fighting side by side with Israeli forces? Remember, one of the key strategic moves of the first Gulf War was that Israel had to sit it out in order for Bush Sr. to assemble that massive Arab alliance against Saddam Hussein, which included the Saudis. But that meant Israel had to hold back despite having Scud missiles shot at them. But now they may indeed be fighting side by side with the Saudis against this Iranian regime, which only adds to the truly historic dimension in all of this. Now, here's where this gets even more dramatic. Remember Hezbollah, right? Iran's most powerful proxy army, the terror group embedded in Lebanon that's terrorized Israel and the entire region for decades? Back on February 25th, just days before the strikes, Hezbollah, what's left of its leadership, issued a stunning public warning. They said essentially, if you kill Khamenei or you try to topple the regime, we're going to enter the war. Well, as of today, in the early morning hours, Hezbollah made good on their threat. They launched rockets and drones from Lebanon, targeting an Israeli air defense base near Haifa in northern Israel. Israel's response was beyond devastating. And it wasn't just Israel. You are not going to believe who's now confronting Hezbollah. This is an absolute game changer. Now, did you know that Alzheimer's isn't waiting for old age anymore? It's spreading, it's accelerating, and it's showing up decades earlier. Early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, are on the rise. Reports show a 373% increase in diagnoses among 30 to 44-year-olds and a 311% increase in 45 to 54-year-olds in the United States in recent years. But when doctors attempt to treat these brain diseases, they often focus on medicating the brain itself, addressing symptoms like Band-Aid rather than solving the root cause. Alzheimer's disease is driven by chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, which damages brain cells and triggers the buildup of toxic proteins. Now, these same destructive processes fuel neurodegeneration, cognitive decline, and even increase cancer risk, yet they're rarely the primary target of treatment. The root cause of many brain disorders is found in the gut microbiome. Groundbreaking research now links gut bacteria directly to Alzheimer's disease and shows that what we consume plays a defining role in not just cognitive but overall health as well. Numerous studies suggest that the number one thing you can do to combat these chronic diseases is to consume kimchi. There's so many bioactive compounds in kimchi that have been found to improve cognitive and memory function by targeting amyloid beta. That's the main sign of Alzheimer's disease that forms those sticky plaques in the brain. Notably, these same protective mechanisms are linked to reduce cancer risk with kimchi's ability to suppress carcinogen activating enzymes. So that's why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers all the benefits of real kimchi in convenient capsules. No taste, no smell, and no GMO. 100% made right here in the United States. Today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below for 25% off your entire order, or for the best deal available, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off plus free shipping. You'll love them. Call them now at 888-597-0233. That's 888-597-0233. Call them right now. Within hours of Hezbollah's attack, the IDF unleashed massive airstrikes against Lebanon. They hit Beirut, they hit southern Lebanon, they hit the Bekaa Valley, and then came the knockout blow. Mohammed Raad, the head of Hezbollah's parliamentary bloc, one of the last remaining senior leaders of the organization, was confirmed killed in one of the Israeli airstrikes. The IDF has now added Hezbollah's remaining leadership to the same decapitation campaign they're running against Iran. And it gets worse. Lebanon's own government has now turned completely against Hezbollah. After Hezbollah launched those rockets, Lebanon's president and prime minister announced that the Lebanese government has officially outlawed all of Hezbollah's security and military activities, and they're calling on Hezbollah to surrender their weapons immediately. The government ordered security agencies to prevent any further military operations and arrest those involved, and the army was tasked with confiscating weapons without delay. What we're witnessing here, gang, is nothing less than the dismantling of Iran's entire proxy empire. Hezbollah in Lebanon, shattered, outlawed by its own governments, top leaders eliminated one by one. The Houthis in Yemen, isolated without their patron, Iranian-backed militias in Iraq already being struck by U.S. and Israeli forces, with 4 PMF fighters killed just yesterday. Iran itself, its supreme leader dead, over 40 senior regime officials eliminated, its navy destroyed, its missile infrastructure in ruins, and a succession crisis tearing apart whatever's left of the regime. Now, again, we talked about this on Saturday from my back porch, but it's absolutely essential for us to understand what's really going on here. What is President Trump really doing here? I think the key to understand this in its full orb picture is that there is a Gulf strategy and a global strategy to all of this. That's what you have to get. So there's a regional Middle Eastern goal in all of this, but then there's an also larger worldwide goal going on at the very same time. So you want to get sort of this micro-macro dynamics in your head here. We talked about the regional strategy on Saturday. This is all actually an extension of the Abraham Accords that Trump secured in his first administration. The Abraham Accords were always at their core about building a united front against Iran. So bottom line, it is a realignment, an alliance between Israel and the rising Sunni Arab world. So that's Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco, and eventually Saudi Arabia. They're all drawn together by a shared recognition that Tehran is the single greatest threat to regional peace and stability. So what we're seeing right now is that vision reaching its ultimate fulfillment. The U.S., Israel, the Sunni Arab world effectively operating as a united front against the Iranian regime, turning what began as a diplomatic and economic normalization framework, that's how the Abraham Accords started. Now they've morphed into a full-blown military and strategic alliance that's dismantling Iran's terror empire once and for all. And keep in mind, that was always the Abraham Accords in the end. It was uniting Sunni Arab money with Israeli might. That's the idea. And if you could bring the two together into an alliance, you can effectively marginalize or isolate Iran and create peace throughout the Middle East, and that would have eventually involved getting rid of this regime. So the chief impediment to lasting peace and prosperity in the Middle East is Iran and its proxy network of Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. If this final impediment to peace and prosperity can be at long last wiped out, we will finally have peace in the Middle East. But the ramifications of all this are far wider than the Gulf, okay? We can clearly see a geopolitical pattern emerging. Just take a step back and think about just the last couple of months. Venezuela, Iran, Cuba. What two power blocks are most affected by cutting off these countries? It's, of course, Russia and China. Russia and China were effectively creating an anti-American, anti-Western axis through these exact proxies: Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran. And Trump is very clearly taking each one of those proxies out sequentially, one by one, to push back on that axis and restore and indeed establish American civilizational dominance in this rising multipolar world. China gets 20%, let that hit you, 20% of its oil from Venezuela and Iran combined. Well, I should say they did get 20% of their oil. Cutting China off from that oil supply, which is exactly what Trump is doing here, has severely weakened this rising giant in the East, and thereby significantly strengthens Japan. There are an increasing number of analysts recognizing that the huge winner in all of this is Tokyo. Isn't geopolitics fun? Yeah, Tokyo, right? That just gave their conservative Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi their biggest landslide victory ever in their latest national elections. Japan's on fire right now in a good sense. Japan is absolutely crushing. It's going through this amazing civilizationalist renewal, and they are China's biggest competitor for Southeast Asia dominance. Japan even has its own Belt and Road Initiative, the Partnership for Quality Investment in Infrastructure, which is every bit as aggressive as Beijing's. And so a weaker Beijing means a stronger Tokyo in the region. Oh, and on top of that, there are now reports that the Kremlin is open to accepting security guarantees for Ukraine. Yeah, maybe we'll make that deal. That sounds good to me. Make no mistake, the world is indeed changing right before our very eyes. From the Middle East to the Far East, from Greenland to Venezuela, a new era is rising. A civilizationless world with the United States as its chief power and architect. As it turns out, MAGA isn't just renewing America. MAGA is renewing the world.